Today I'm going to give you a little piece of history about Devon. We're going to go around Devon in a programme called Devon Historical and Hysterical. I just picked out some bits that I hope you will find interesting. We're going to start off in Brixton because that's where I was born. My father was born, his father was born, and his father before that. Brixton came from the name Brioch, which is an old personal name. Eventually it's got turned around, it's been Brysham, Brigham, but it's ended up as Brixton, which is an old personal name, and the word ham, which is an old English name for the word home. So we have Brixton. In 1801, the population of Brixton was 3,500 people. Brixton, affectionately known as the mother of the trawling industry, for good reason. And this first song is simply called The Little Town of Brixton. It's an old traditional song. Most of all, it features the trawlers and the trawlermen. This little town of Brixton, it's all ups and downs, Higher Street and Fore Street in this little town. But we all wait for the trawlers when they come home from sea, for there's nothing like a trawler or a trawlerman for me. The girls of little Brixton, they dress very neat, gold rings upon their fingers, kid shoes on their feet. They all wait for the trawlers when they come home from sea, for there's nothing like a trawler or a trawlerman for me. There's Higher Street and Fore Street, all the ups and downs, beer shops and milk shops in this little town. But we all wait for the trawlers when they come home from sea, for there's nothing like a trawler or a trawlerman for me. This little town of Brixton, it's all ups and downs, Higher Street and Fore Street in this little town. But we all wait for the trawlers when they come home from sea, for there's nothing like a trawler or a trawlerman for me. So there's a song, a traditional song, praising mostly the trawlers, of course mentioning beer shops and milk shops. We don't have so many milk shops now, but we do still have plenty of beer shops left in Brixton. I'm going to read a poem that is called Friendship. I'm going to read it in the Devon dialect because actually it reminds me of two aunties of my father's who were very lovely to each other, but when they were apart they talked about each other in maybe not such affectionate terms. This isn't actually about them, but it reminds me of them. Two old ladies us sits down to tea. I'm 84 and her's 83. I hate her and she hates me, but us is the only ones left, you see. Us meets every Wednesday at 3:30. I goes to her and her comes to me. I bore her and her bores me, but us is the only ones left, you see. She talks of her Harry, I talks of our Fred, and all the things us have done and said. Us both tell lies and never agree, 'cause we're the only ones left, you see. She boasts of that party at number 3 where Fred kissed her instead of me, but I wear his ring so 'tis plain to see why I hate her and she hates me. Never trust your best friend, they say, and I don't trust her not to this day. But they're all gone, so pour the tea, 'cause us is the only ones left, you see. My next song is certainly more serious. It concerns a gentleman called John Lee. We affectionately know him as John Babacom Lee here in Devon. After being discharged from the Navy in 1882, John Lee went to work at a hotel in Kingswear. He didn't like hotel work because he much preferred the Navy. After that, he went to work at Tor Station. He didn't like it there either. His half-sister Elizabeth Harris got him a job at a place called the Glen, working for a very genteel lady called Miss Emma Keyes. In 1884, a fire destroyed the Glen. When all the wreckage was cleared, Miss Keyes was found battered, beaten and murdered. The finger of suspicion pointed at John Lee, although he protested his innocence and he said that he believed in God and God knew he was innocent. John Lee stood on the trapdoor at Exeter Assizes. They tried to hang him, and 3 times the trapdoor did not open. They took John Lee away, they took him back, and every time the trapdoor didn't open. So at the 3rd time they couldn't do it again, and they had to, I say reprieve him, they didn't actually, he went to prison for 20 years. It's a much, much longer story than this, but this is the song I wrote to go with a radio play that talked all about the trials and tribulations of John Lee, a man they could not hang. In a place called Barracombe, a small town by the sea, there lived a plain and simple man, his name it was John Lee. He searched for work and then he found a lady of good name. She required a tradesman, so her footman he became. 3 times 3, the trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. He worked well for his mistress, she to him was kind. Darkness that befell them both was never in his mind, for in the very dead of night poor Miss Keys was slain, and as the glen burned to the ground, oh, who would take the blame? Oh, 3 times 3, the trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. Up before a jury, others put their plea, Miss Jane and Miss Eliza neck, they said it was not me. John Lee proclaimed his innocence, and from the courtroom stand his only sister said her piece, and he was surely damned. Oh, 3 times 3, the trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. The trial came to a closing, all was said and done. The finger pointed at John Lee, he was the wicked one. Judge Majesty donned his black cap, he the order gave. John Lee would surely, surely hang, his soul could not be saved. Oh, 3 times 3, trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. On a February morning, Mr. Berry did prepare. He looped and loosened levers, checked all with the utmost care. The chaplain said, oh, holy grace, for goodness to prevail. 3 times the trapdoor would not give, and 3 times o'er it failed, and 3 times 3, the trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. John Lee, he was pardoned, thanked and praised his Lord, his innocence at last proclaimed, and he had been restored. Now he is a free man, the jail door will not bang. Behind the back of poor John Lee, the man they could not hang. Oh, 3 times 3, trapdoor set him free, and he dreamt on in a dream they would not hang John Lee. So we move from John Lee, who, as I said, worked in Kingswear. I'm going to read you a little poem, just a little bit of silliness, about a farmer friend of mine who actually used to live at Kingswear, and he had a beautiful herd of cows which he doted on, and I was asked if I would write a slightly humorous poem about the farming industry, because I was giving a talk that evening to a group of farmers, and I wrote this. I'm terribly sorry about that. It's definitely more Pam Ayres than it is anybody else, but it's called Mr. Havoc's Cows. I do know Mr. Havoc, by the way, and he has heard this, and I've had no complaint. So. Mr. Havoc was a farmer, as I have heard him say, and he farmed down in Churston, in that lovely place, Torbay. He had a herd of cows, they was his pride and joy, and they won lots of prizes for that there Devon boy. Their milk, it was like nectar. He sold bottles by the score. He could shift 1,000 gallons, but still they wanted more. Each single cow was loved and cherished and treated like a queen, and Mozart's music played in the milking shed to keep them all serene. Each day they grazed contented on the richest, greenest fields, and the more contented were those cows, the greater was the yield. But one morning, what a shock! The clouds was grey and low, and with no prior warning come heavy fall of snow. Well, it must have been near 5 foot deep, how that prizer they did shudder. 'Twas not too pleasant for them cows, one way or another. Mr. Havoc could not shift them, they was frozen to the spot, so he rang Defra for advice, case he lost a blinking lot. Well, the chap at Defra goes, I'm sorry, but us is snowed up here too, but I think I might know someone, so I'll see what I can do. Well, sure enough, some time later, a figure it appeared, in a yellow mac and wellies. A woman. Mr. Haddock's biggest fear. But she was polite and jolly, and Mr. Haddock took her down to his cows that were still frozen to that very icy ground. Well, she walked up gently to each cow, blew softly on its nose. Mr. Haddock could not believe his eyes as each precious cow unfroze. Well, he stuttered out much thanks and praise, for once he's lost for words. He said, I don't even know your name. She replied, it's Thora Hurd. Staying with the farming community, I'm going to sing you a song that came from a time when we did not have the health inspector. That wonderful time when we had no sell-by dates, no use-by dates. And as a very old Devon friend of mine used to say, well, dear, if you didn't wear in a green furry overcoat, I should eat it if I was you. So this song comes from a time when the old cider press was way, way, way out in the barn, and when the press was lifted, there might have been bits of old bicycle tyre, maybe Auntie Elsie's false teeth that she lost the year before, and everything went into the cider vat. But this song, the clue may be in the title because it's called Dead Dog Cider. It goes like this. In the year of 1642, in a little cider mill, a poor old dog lay down to rest, for he was feeling ill. He chose a most precarious perch above the apple press, when in his sleep he tumbled in and perished in distress. This caused his master for to frown, likewise his mistress too, until their sorrows to relieve, they sampled of the brew. Odzoons, cries Farmer Atwater, the like I ne'er did sup. Go summon all the neighbours in, and bid them take a cup. Now every man that drank that night got drunk as he could be. They wondered how the scrumpy had acquired such potency. The farmer kept his counsel as he took another drop, when all at once that poor old dog came floating to the top. Well, a silence fell upon the room, and every man did frown, for they recognised old Bendigo, though he was upside down. The squire lost his countenance and fainted on the floor, and the vicar lost his breeches in the rush to reach the door. Oh, stop, said Farmer Atwater, in all me life I vow, he never hurt no man nor beast, he'll not hurt no one now. And this shall be his epitaph, here lies poor faithful Ben, who perished in a scrumpy vat, but quickly rose again. So if you're down in Devon, and you goes into a bar, asks for Dead Dog Cider, it's the best there is by far. Refuse all imitation, and you'll sleep just like a log, and you'll always recognise it by the hair of the dog. So this is my last song. This is a song that I wrote for all the ladies on my mum's side of the family because they all came from Plymouth. And my great-grandmother used to sit and tell me many, many stories of Plymouth. And I, being a diligent child, enjoyed listening to her and listening to all the stories that she had to tell. I was very lucky to know my great-grandmother. She was a very fascinating and a very interesting woman, and she loved Plymouth with a passion. So I wrote this song. I wrote this song for the ladies, as I say, of my mother's side of the family, and we are very much predominantly female orientated. I only have 2 male cousins, so they're rather in the minority. But I will tell you a little story just before I sing my song City of Plymouth, because my grandmother and my mother and my grandmother lived through the Plymouth Blitz, and they were taken out regularly to Roborough Down because, of course, the city itself was being bombed. And a lovely lady came up to me after one of my bookings that I actually did in Plymouth, and I sang this song. She said, "I'd like to tell you a story about my uncle." She said, "My uncle worked in a factory in Plymouth during the Blitz, and the air raid siren went, and everybody had to, of course, immediately evacuate the building." She said, "Except for my uncle, who had brand new false teeth. And they weren't very comfortable, so every morning when he went into his place of work, he put his teeth in his locker. So he was running out with the others when he remembered he didn't have his teeth. So he turned back, and against the tide of people running out, he was running back in. And his boss stopped him, and he said, 'Bill, what do you think you're doing? I said, got to run out. You've got to be going, you've got to be gone.' And he said, 'I haven't got my teeth.' To which his boss replied, 'Then dropping blinking bombs, not pasties.'" City of Plymouth, from times long gone by, you have watched o'er our waters, stared at the sky. When trouble approached you, you bore it with grace, kept each precious memory of this hallowed place. Drake stood on your headland, Churchill wept at your fall. Many great men and women have answered your call. Lady Astor won freedom and danced on your green, and such celebration there never was seen. You have nurtured our navy, so the pilgrims depart, stood strong when the enemy burned out your heart, patiently waited to rise up again, have your beauty restored by hard-working men. The slate and the cobble, such stories you hold of sailors, soldiers, silver and gold, smugglers and street girls, fishers and kings. Oh, Plymouth, great city, to your glory